So after a few weeks at home, almost 3 weeks, getting a few things done, we left again to go to Seattle for a conference that Kim was attending for work. We went a couple days early so that we could see some stuff because Kim had never been there before and I'd only been there once in January for work.
Says Kim, very excited to be here amongst all the hubbub and people of downtown Seattle at Pike Place Market. Very excited to be amongst so many people. Not at all short of attention and short of
Patience, not
patience.
attention.
Yeah, that too. This trip was her idea, by the way.
So after Pike Place Market, we walked up to the Space Needle, which is one of the most famous landmarks in Seattle. You see a skyline that's always in there. It was built in the early 60s for the 1962 World's Fair that was in Seattle. It went from like an idea on a napkin to a fully completed structure ready for the fair in like a year and a half or something. Only like 9 months of construction, which is crazy considering it takes them like 4 years to repave 3 miles of highway anymore. But you can see some really great views from the observation deck on the top. If you go up in the elevators, you can see the city. You can see Mount Rainier in the background. If it's not too cloudy, you can see the harbor, Bainbridge Island, Puget Sound. Got these nice glass panels that you can look out of that are, don't obstruct your view at all. And then on the lower floor of the tower used to be a revolving restaurant when it first opened, but now there's a tiny little like bar there where you can sit down and eat and drink. But another section of it is this glass floor revolving observation deck that you can look straight down through your feet and through this tower structure to what's directly underneath you. That evening, we went to dinner at the Cheesecake Factory in the same building as the hotel, where they had these great decorations that reminded me a lot of the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Here we are in Seattle, headed to Mount Rainier National Park in this super swanky, I don't know, some kind of Jeep something or other that maybe we'll take the roof off later. It's super crazy. Super foggy here this morning. Oh, those are just trees. All right, well, you'll have to take my word for it that it's super foggy. So we're not sure what we're going to do here. It says 2.5 hours to get to the park, so we'll see what we see along the way. We're struggling to get underway this morning, as on our way to Mount Rainier, our tire pressure told us it was 3. Then it automatically adjusted to 35, but still told us we needed air. So here's Chris after he patiently waited for some person who knew not how to pump air in her tires and had to pay, what, $2.50? He's not happy that we had to pay for air.
So this is a video that I took after we were almost at the park, which took about 2 hours to get about 3 miles from the entrance. And then we sat in traffic for 3 more hours to go the last 3 miles to the park entrance. For some reason, I had my phone hooked up to the Bluetooth in the Jeep or something, and it didn't record the audio in this. But as you can see, I'm trying to keep it light. Kim, who's not the most patient person at waiting, is steaming over there and ready to blow a gasket. She eventually decided to pull out her phone or iPad and pull up a Netflix Christmas movie that entertained her for a while, but she wasn't too happy at this point. But yeah, we got no audio on this part of it, but suffice it to say, she wasn't participating because she was pretty ticked off.
Woo! After only 5-hour drive, we go 60 miles. We're at the entrance to the park. Woo!
All right, so it is
Sunday.
morning, and yesterday we went to Mount Rainier National Park, which was an adventure because it's about 85 miles from downtown Seattle. It took us about 2 hours to go 82 miles and 3 hours to go the last 3 miles. 2-lane road going in, only like 2 entrance gates to the park at the entrance that is closest to Seattle and that they tell everybody to go to. Not very good infrastructure to support the number of people. Apparently it was a really nice day for middle of October and on a weekend, so obviously a lot of people had the same idea, but don't really have the infrastructure there to support the amount of people that were showing up, which seemed to be 50% of the people in the Pacific Northwest. So, I mean, it was nice. The mountain was really cool. The scenery was pretty. It was a long wait in line, and Kim's not a good waiter.
Because I do my research, and I spent Saturday trying to identify if there was timed entry or anything, and there was nothing, right? Like I could find nothing, because had I known that would be the case, we could have gotten up at 5 o'clock and been there, right? So the frustration was with the lack of information on the national park site and some of the other sites I was looking at, and irritation with us for not leaving earlier. So
Yeah, so I'll put some pictures that I took of the mountain in here. No video in the park because the National Park Service is fascist and doesn't distinguish between people who take a video on their phone they put on YouTube on a channel that may one day become monetized, and like Jerry Bruckheimer showing up and filming a Transformers movie in the park. To them, it's all the same thing, and you have to apply for a permit and pay hundreds of dollars and have all this other stuff because it's a typical government bureaucracy. If you want more details on that, just do a search on YouTube. There's lots of people giving videos ranting about that. But for the Park Service, anything that you see that was posted was outside the park or a still photography that doesn't fall under your draconian rules. Yeah, okay. What else? Oh, Mount Rainier, stratovolcano, 14,400 and some feet. Stratovolcano is different from like a shield volcano, which is like the Hawaiian Islands, which is just something that sort of continually erupts slowly over millions of years and builds up. Stratovolcano erupts much more explosively and violently, much infrequently, like Mount St. Helens. So Mount Rainier is still active. It's about 85, 90 miles from Seattle. It last erupted about 150 years ago, and it erupts roughly every 150 years. So we got to go see it before it wipes out the whole Puget Bay, Puget Sound area, and makes it an unpleasant day for all these people here. So, yeah. All right, today we're going to Roslyn, Washington, which is somewhere I've wanted to go for 30 years. Kim's rolling her eyes because she doesn't understand the appeal, but once we're there, I'll take some video and you'll understand why it's so exciting.
All right, so this is why we're here in Roslyn. I know Kim's very excited. But Roslyn, Washington is where they film pretty much all the exterior scenes for the show Northern Exposure that was on in the early 90s, which was probably one of my favorite shows at the time. Rewatched it several times. So this is the brick. That was the bar, Hollings Bar. Down there is the Northwestern Mining Company that was Dr. Fleischman's office. The pizza and the Ruth Ann store. The Roslyn Cafe sign is way down there that they changed to say Roslyn's Cafe in the opening credits. Down here is the where the K-Bear station was. They still have the call sign letters and the set in the window. Pretty exciting. So it hasn't changed much in 30 years or so since the thing was being filmed here, but up that road there was supposedly where Dr. Fleischman's cabin was, up in the woods. So pretty cool. I wanted to come here and visit this place for a while, but never been up in this area except once before in Seattle in like January, which was couldn't hardly get here because it was winter and snowy up here in the Cascades. So it's only about an hour and a half out of Seattle, but it's exciting. I don't know, probably not exciting for some people, but exciting for me.
All right, so we've been home for all of 36 hours maybe and decided it's time to be on the road again. So now we're heading to Salt Lake City to see our second son, Andy.
Second oldest son, right? That second just makes it sound like, second favorite or second rate or some second oldest.
Okay, second oldest son. There are no favorites in the son category. It finally felt like fall here in Wyoming starting yesterday. We were cleaning out the garage, trying to make it so you could walk through it. And we were about to get our ruby slippers out because the wind picked up, half of our stuff blew across to Nebraska. Yeah, a little bit cold today, snowed a lot of places. Maybe we'll see some snow as we cross southwest from Rock Springs down into Utah. Say anything?
Wind chill was 25 this morning, so
Yeah.
that was nice.
Almost time to put out the Christmas tree. Woo-woo! Not the most spectacular scenery as we head out of southeastern Wyoming into Utah. Snowing, not really laying on the ground, but usually on this drive between Rawlins and Rock Springs, Wyoming, out on the horizon are some spectacular mountains and some beautiful scenery. But because of this lovely weather we are having, there you can see it, snow, this lovely weather we're having, can't see a whole lot on today's drive. I just threatened Chris to pull out my Christmas playlist since it's snowing, but I'm trying really, really hard to not do that. So if we get to see anything pretty today, we'll pull the camera back out, but there's some snow in middle October for you. Just recently crossed the border into Utah, about, I don't know, probably 60, 70 miles outside of Salt Lake City. You can see the landscape has totally changed. Still very cloudy day, but really, really pretty driving down through this canyon into northern Utah. We have a special guest star today. This is our second oldest son, Andrew. Say hi, Andy.
Hello.
We are going, there's Chris. We are going from Salt Lake City. We came up to Brighton and now we're heading across to Park City. Lots of snow up here, so I'm gonna get away from us and take some landscape.
So after some time in Park City, we decided to drive up to the northern end of the Great Salt Lake, about an hour and a half from Salt Lake City, to the Golden Spike National Historic Site. This is where the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, where they drove the last spike to meet up the sections that were coming from California and from Chicago. So after the Golden Spike, we continued on past there to the real reason that we came up here, or at least that I came up here, which is to go view the Spiral Jetty, which is very exciting, that Kim was not at all excited about, but it's another 16 miles or so on dirt roads past the Golden Spike site. And so this is the drive heading out there on the north end of the Salt Lake.
Here we are at the exciting Spiral Jetty. Some call it the 8th wonder of the world. Actually, nobody knows that if I'm being honest, but I do, because it's awesome. It's like the greatest thing you could possibly come see in northern Utah. It's a goofy ass art installation that somebody designed and then convinced a bunch of grad students to come build for free for them. By just dumping boulders into this Great Salt Lake and making a big spiral. And it's supposed to be right at the water surface, but water ain't nowhere near it at the moment, and it hasn't been for years. Because there's no water out here, and it's a big desert. The water is way out there. We'll probably go out to it, but this is it. The sun is in a really bad place for videoing or photography right now, but maybe when we come back, I'll go back up on the hill and you get a better look at it from a higher perspective. Here it is at the same level, looking back from with the sun in your eyes. There's Andy over there walking out through it. I had to go around because it's soft sand's a pain in the butt to walk in, so came out where it's harder packed. But there's the parking area way up there. But there's literally nothing else out here. It is 16 miles of dirt road from the Golden Spike Visitor Center out to here through ranch and farmland. There's absolutely nothing else out here. This is right the lake bed that I'm standing on. I'm probably a quarter of a mile from the shore at the moment, and the water is still way out there, so it has not been, water hasn't been anywhere near here anytime recently. The Great Salt Lake is kind of a misnomer. Really should be called the Great Salt Puddle. Even if it was at full pool, the average depth is only about 6 feet. It's not deep enough to do anything like even recreationally in boating or anything like that. Even if it was full, and it hasn't been full for many of the times. The only thing that really lives in it are brine shrimp. So salty, which incidentally I believe should be the name of the Utah hockey team now, as opposed to Utah Hockey Club, which is just clearly a marketing thing to sell everybody merchandise for a year or two and then sell them again once they come up with a name. But if they named them the Salt Lake Brine Shrimp, I would definitely buy that jersey. So you can see there's Kim way out there by the water, because she does not understand the spiritual and cosmic significance of the Spiral Jetty, and really doesn't care about it at all, and just blew right by it to run out to the edge of the water. Very rude. Now we're onto some fairly freshly evaporated section. Very salty crust. So like I said, the whole thing's very shallow, so it only needs to lose like an inch or two of depth to go way farther out. All right, here we are at the water's edge, way far from the shore of the lake. Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Feels like a lot farther than that.
Well, I started by the jetty.
So,
That's Spiral.
yeah, so it's got to be about half a mile from the shore, I'm thinking. It's very bright sun here on the water. Kim, tell us your thoughts on the jetty and its spiritual significance to you.
There is zero.
Wow.
This, however, is spectacular.
How about Andy? What are your thoughts on the jetty as a former AP art history student?
I mean, I see why it's in the course material. It's like the Mona Lisa, but better. Taking this.
It's unusually windy out here today, and quite a bit of wave action on the surface of the lake. Usually it is dead silent, like oppressively silent. Like you can feel it closing in on you. Silent. But not today, because the waves lapping up and
the wind.
lots of jets and salt building up on the shoreline. If you're interested in visiting the Spiral Jetty, it's about a 2-hour drive from Salt Lake City. Just take Interstate 15 north to Brigham City, get off and follow the signs to the Golden Spike National Historic Site. And then once you get there, the paved road ends right past the visitor center, and it turns into a dirt/gravel road, like a ranch access road basically, for about 16 miles from there. Farther out here, and that road ends at the parking area for the jetty. This is probably my 5th or 6th time out here since, I don't know, maybe about 6 years ago. First time when Andy came out to visit the University of Utah, we came up and visited it. So it's really cool because it's far out here. Every time we come, there's more people here though, so it's really very cool when there's nobody here. I thought maybe since it was late in the day, getting towards sunset, that would be the case, but I guess maybe people come out to see the sunset. So. Definitely worth the trip if you're anywhere in northern Utah though. Alright, so here's the view of the jetty from the shore behind the parking area. Trying to shade the sun a little bit so you can actually see it, but that's what it looks like. At some points since it's been built in the early 70s, it's been completely covered by water, but now the water's half a mile away. Damn global warming. Also, if you come out to the Spiral Jetty and the Golden Spike site, you can see on the mountain there straight ahead lots of buildings and things. That is the, I think it's currently Northrop Grumman location, United Launch Alliance. Used to be Morton Thiokol, where they designed and built the solid rocket boosters for the space shuttle, and now the same solid rocket boosters for the Artemis rocket to go to the moon, because Congress and NASA are morons and decided to go back to the moon, and said to save money they need to use the technology that they already have, so they're using the rocket boosters from the space shuttle, which were designed in the late 60s and early 70s, and also the same liquid hydrogen fueled rocket motors on the main launch vehicle, which is why 1 out of every 3 space shuttle missions was scrubbed right before liftoff, because they couldn't get the valves to seal on those engines, and they were always leaking and causing problems. So yeah, your government and tax dollars at work using 1960s technology to try to go back to the moon in 2027.